To Georgia next, where thousands of people have been taking to the streets for weeks, protesting a bill that could threaten media freedom and could even derail Georgia's hopes of joining the European Union. Protesters oppose what many have dubbed a Russian law. That's because Moscow uses similar legislation to curb independent news organisations and groups critical of the Kremlin. The European Union and the United States have urged Georgia to drop the legislation, but the country's Prime Minister has rejected US criticism, saying its meddling has fuelled the sometimes violent protests. And I'm very pleased to welcome the President of Georgia, Salome Zourabichvili, who finds herself increasingly at odds with the governing party. Welcome to DW, Madam President. Thank you so much for your time today. With so many people in Georgia opposed to this bill, do you think it will become law, or do you see something happening to stop it? I mean, you yourself have vowed to veto the law, I believe.
Yes, I will veto this law, as I vetoed all the laws that have been taken by the government in the recent period and that are going against the letter and the spirit of the recommendations that were offered by the European Union to pave the way for the opening of negotiations. But it's now very clear that this law, which is a Russian law by essence, because it's the way Russia has managed to really repress the civil society, that the government here is trying to present the partners of Georgia as agents of revolution, as those are trying to overthrow the government and keeping very silent on Russia, as if it was now today our new friend. So that is becoming increasingly clear that it's not only the Russian law that is the problem. The problem is a Russian government, or a government that is prone to making concessions to Russia and to turn the orientation of this country towards Russia. And that is what the vast majority of this country is protesting. It's not only the law is a symbol, but the reality is that the country is saying, we want Europe, we want our European future, which is close at hand. We're going to defend it as well as our independence. Mm-hmm. We're not going to give in. They're also saying to our partners that here is at stake not only the future of Georgia, but in a way, the future of Europe and of its strengths.
Madam President, can I ask you, the government tried to pass similar legislation last year. Help us understand why the ruling Georgian Dream Party wants this law so much.
I don't know. What is clear is that they have lied to us, to the Georgian population, and they have lied to our partners. They have said that they were withdrawing the law and that they would not represent it. Now they are lying on all of that. They have disappointed and deceived their own population. Why they're doing it, it doesn't make any sense. In political terms, it's no longer what could have been said earlier, that they are trying to save their power. Today, it doesn't make any sense but to please Moscow. Mm-hmm. And the one center we cannot accept that Georgia became a candidate to the European Union, that sees very close at hand the negotiations of adhesion, that sees that the Caucasus is no longer this garden that was preserved for Russia. Mm-hmm. That's what displeases Moscow and displeases those that are now clearly, since the speech of Mr. Ivanishvili, appearing as serving Moscow.
You've said yourself that the vast majority of Georgians want their country to move closer to the West and to join the EU. How will people react? How angry will people be if this bill comes ever closer to passing? What's going to happen?
Well, they're very angry, but they're at the same time very reasonable. You see this youth that is protesting completely peacefully and will continue to do so because they're very aware of the risks that exist in a country that has its territories 20% occupied by Russia. But at the same time, they will not give in either independence or their European future. This country has been fighting for 26th century for its independence, and that's how this country has survived until now. This country has always shared the values that are now called European, and will defend that. And this country has always fought for its freedom. And I want to use this opportunity to thank the declarations that have been, the statements that have been made on the German side, and especially the president of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Bundestag and many others. And we know that Germany, as all our European partners, are on the side of Georgia and of European Georgia.
So you couldn't envisage, for example, a possible compromise, something that might satisfy the protesters on the streets as well as the ruling party?
I don't think it exists, because the compromise was the withdrawal of the law. It happened once, and again they have reintroduced it. And meanwhile, they have adopted another half a dozen laws, including one that makes Georgia an offshore for Russian oligarchs that are sanctioned. So all of that is extremely preoccupying. And I think that our European partners should take the right measure of what is happening here and see that today and until the election, on this very tricky road, very sensitive road towards elections, where the Georgian people will be able to say what they have to say in favor of Europe, we need attention and support of our European partners.
10 years ago, Madam President, the Ukrainian government wanted closer ties with Moscow, but people there took to the streets in protest. That was known as the Maidan Revolution. Is this a similar moment for your country?
I don't know if it's similar. We have gone already through everything that Ukraine has gone through. We have gone through Maidans, we've gone through wars. So we are, yes, there is a parallelism between all of what has happening in Ukraine over the past decades and recently, and Georgia, but with all our individual paths, and our path this time leads towards these elections in October, which will be a type of referendum. Do we want Europe or do you want Russia? And I'm confident of what is the answer of Georgia.
Salome Zourabichvili, the President of Georgia, many thanks for your time. Thank you for speaking to DW.
Thank you.